Welcome back to Web of Wisdom. In this tutorial, we'll be deep diving into Spring Boot transaction management. We'll be looking at theory, transaction management theory, as well as some practical examples. So before going ahead, let us look at today's agenda. So initially, we'll be looking at definition of transaction, what is meant by transaction, and then some important concepts like ACID properties, dirty read, phantom read, and repeatable read. Then we will be looking at various types of transactions such as programmatic as well as declarative, and then we will be see the details of declarative transaction, that is using at the rate of transaction annotation, transaction insurance and its properties. Then we'll go for what are the isolation levels and propagation levels. So what is transaction? A transaction is a set of one or more statements that are executed as a one unit. So either all of the statements are executed or none of them is executed. For example, we'll be taking one example of money transfer. So consider there are two accounts, account A and account B. So whenever we are transferring money from account A to account B, we will be doing two operations. First operation will be deducting amount from account A, that is called as a debit, and crediting money to account B, that is called as a credit. So when we are considering this operation as a transaction, it means that all the operations should be done or none of the operation is done. For example, there will be deduction from account A and credit to account B. If any of the operation is not done, then the database will be in inconsistent state. Means, for example, account from account A, the money is deducted but not credited into account B, then there will be inconsistent for state for database. So next we will see the ACID properties. So what are the ACID properties? ACID properties means atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So what is mean by atomicity? So to understand atomicity, we need to know what is mean by atomic. So we just have seen the example of transaction. What is mean by transaction? So that is nothing but the atomicity, means all the operations should be done or neither operation should be done. Next is consistency. What is mean by consistency? A successful transaction transforms a database from previous valid state to new valid state. So what does it mean? So it means that whenever we are performing any transaction, the transaction should be consistent state, means it should be consistent state before and after transaction. In between, the state can be inconsistent. Next we will look at the isolation. What is mean by isolation? So changes that are a transaction make to a database are not visible to other operations until transaction completes its work. It means that when we are performing multiple transactions, those transactions should not affect each other. Last one is the durability. Durability, what is mean by durability? Changes that transaction make to a database survive further system or media failures. So it means that, so if we have saved some data in database and there is some there is some failure occurred, such as power failure or disk failure. So in that state, the transaction should be durable. Durable means the data should be valid in the database. So in next we will see some of the important concept related to transaction. So first is dirty read. What is mean by dirty read? A dirty read occurs when a transaction reads data that has been modified by another transaction but not yet committed. If the modifying transaction rolls back, the data reads become invalid as the read was based on uncommitted changes. For example, transaction A updates record, transaction B reads that updated record before transaction A commits, and if transaction A rolls back due to some failures or cancels its transaction, then the data that has read by transaction B, it will be a incorrect value. So to illustrate this concept, we'll look at this diagram, whereas for example there is a transaction A, and transaction A initial data is ID1, name A, and age 20, and uh, user has updated the transaction A updated name age to 25, and transaction B reads it ID1, name A, and age 25, and after that transaction B rolls back the transaction. It means that it will revert the operation done, means it will revert the age 25 to 20. In this condition, transaction, the data read by transaction B will be invalid, as the transaction is rolled back by transaction A. Next is a phantom read. When phantom read will occur? A phantom read happens when a transaction re-executes query and finds new rows that were not seen previously due to another transaction inserting, deleting, or modifying the data. This leads to inconsistent query results within the same transaction. So we'll take one example. For example, there are two transactions, and transaction A reads set of record satisfying a condition. For example, transaction A executes select star from user, and then transaction B insert or deletes some records into database, like insert record for user, and then transaction reads the records and find new records. That is nothing but phantom read. So we can illustrate this concept by a diagram. For example, there are two transactions, transaction A and transaction B. Initially data will be ID1, name A, and age 20, and after reading after reading the database by transaction A, transaction B insert new data, and then transaction A again reads the data. So at that time transaction A will see two records. That is called as a phantom read. So last and the most important concept is repeatable read. So what is mean by repeatable read? The repeatable read annually occurs when a transaction reads the same row multiple times and different value gets different values due to updates made by other transactions within the reads. The data that was initial read is not repeatable or consistent. For example, we can take similar type of example. For example, there are two transactions, transaction A and transaction B. Transaction A reads the record, transaction B updates the record, and then transaction A again reads the record, and it will get the different value. So this is similar to phantom read, where it is a phantom read is associated with insert or deletion. Repeated read is associated with update record. So I have using this diagram, this concept will be more clear.